Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Since we are just a few people, you can unmute yourself. Okay. Um, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. Today we're going to talk about the exclusive right of sale listing agreement. Some of you already have seen this presentation before. Some of you, this is the first time. So I'm just gonna share my screen and we can take it from there. Okay. Just let me ask you a question. Which of you are using .loop and which of you are using for simplicity?
.loop.
.loop. Okay, good.
.loop too.
Okay. I opened my for simplicity because actually when I do presentations, it's easier for me to do the whole presentation in there. But it's actually the same forms, the same stuff, the same information. When you open in for simplicity, it's called a new transaction. When you use .loop, is a new loop. Okay. So let's start with the contract. First of all, let me tell you something. Always, when you are going to represent a seller, always use the same, hold on a second. Admit. Always you're going to use the exclusive right of sale listing agreement as a transaction broker. Okay. So when you open the form, look for exactly that specific form. Let's check form. Exclusive. And can anybody answer to me, why should I always take the transaction broker? Always. Yes, why? Do you guys know why? Nobody? Okay. You always will be using the transaction broker on the exclusive right of sale listing agreement because this is the only one that allows you as a listing agent to represent both parties in the same transaction without asking permission from the seller. If you use the single agency, that means that you have to ask the seller to let you, hold on, to let you transfer from single agency into transaction broker. And sometimes the seller would not like to for this listing agent to represent also a buyer in the same transaction. That's why you always use the transaction broker. Okay. First of all, who's going to be the seller? The seller is whoever owns the property. I was looking for a property right here in Broward County. Of course, you cannot get the information from the MLS because it is supposed not to be on the MLS just yet. This is the first time that you're gonna show the property into the market. So let's find any property out there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see whatever happens right here. One quick tip right here. When you are looking for a folio number on a property in Broward County, the easiest way to find out if the property is located in a condominium is when you see 2 letters in between the numbers on the folio number. Like for example, right here, you see this one, 5140 12AH 0370. That means that this is a condominium. Okay, I'm gonna use this as an example because I wanna tell you something else regarding this property. Let's open it up. This property belongs to a corporation. So what can we do when we find a seller that is a corporation? We have to make sure as a listing agent that who will be entitled to sign a contract for the corporation, because the corporation might have different owners, different managers, so you better make sure who will be entitled to sign the contract. Otherwise, if somebody that is not allowed to sign the contract signs this agreement, it will be voidable easy, because it's not the right of the owner. Hold on a second. People right here. Admit. Okay. Okay. So in this case, we have the property owner is a corporation, Condor Properties LLC. I'm just gonna copy this information and paste it into my for simplicity. Okay. But how can I make sure that the person that will be signing this contract is allowed to? So I just go to some Bs. This is the Department of State of Florida, and you can see for the records, the public records. So when you try to find a corporation, just click on name and just paste the information on the owner. Okay, we have Condor Properties right here. And let's see who will be entitled to sign this contract. Oh my God, it's not working now. Okay, let's forget about that, because actually the web page is not working properly. Okay, yeah. So let's assume that we already got the information on the rightful person to sign this contract. And let's go back to our exclusive right of sale listing agreement. Who will be the broker? The broker is the brokerage company that you belong to. In this case, is Brokers LLC. Some realtors out there just put their name on it, and it's not right. It's the corporation or the brokerage company that you represent in this case. Number one, the authority to sell the property is just the time that this owner is giving us to show the property out there in the market and try to get a buyer. Okay, so many people ask, why not 3 months or why not 1 year in a listing? And the reason why is almost always 6 months is because if you take a listing for 3 months, well, actually in this market, it will be selling this property in no time. It will be sold very fast. But in a regular market, 3 months is not enough, because you have cold season and you have hot season in real estate. Okay, the hot season starts on April, May. It covers June, July, part of August. Those are the best months to sell a property. So if you take a listing on November and you just take 3 months, you have November, December, and January, and probably it's not gonna be easy to sell this property. So if you try to get a listing for 1 year, the first thing that is coming into the seller's mind is that you're not going to do a good job, because if you need 1 year to sell a property, probably you're not going to do good advertising, and you're not going to pay too much attention to this property. So that's why I will always recommend 6 months, starting the day that you're going to add the listing on the MLS. So if today's date is the 28th, and I'm gonna have my seller sign today, but I'm gonna upload the listing on the 30th, just do April the 30th and take 6 months from there.
Pencil.
Okay.
Sure.
For May,
There's more pages.
June, July, August, September, October. There you have your 6 months. Okay. That will be the termination date of this listing. Description on the property, you can just bring the information from IMAP, or you can just bring the information right here on the same page on the property appraiser website. Just copy and paste it. Legal description, the same thing right here. Just go and copy the legal description on the property.
I usually go to Miami-Dade Gov property search. Is this
Okay.
better?
No, the things that you're gonna have to get the information on the county, the property appraiser, where the property is located at. In this case, if the property is in Broward County, I just have to go to BCPA. If the property is located in Miami-Dade, you have to go to Miami-Dade Property Appraiser website and click on the address on the property, and they will give you all the information. The same setup. Well, it looks different, but the same information that you can get.
Can you give me the website, please?
Yes, hold on a second. I'm gonna open right here another window. I didn't copy it. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna copy this thing real quick. Copy and paste. Oh, for any reason, it's not copying. Anyway, let's forget about it. Okay. In Miami, whenever the property is located at, the easiest way to search for the property appraiser website, let's do just, I don't know, Indian County property appraiser. This is where you get the information on any property on Indian County, okay? In the case of Miami-Dade, you do this exactly the same thing. You just do Miami-Dade property appraiser or property. There you go. And you just get the information from the Miami-Dade County. You just click the information on the address and it will give you all the information on the property, okay?
So we use the one, for instance, for Broward.
Yes, it all depends on the property. If the property is located in Broward County, you just go to BCPA or just try to find on Google property appraiser website of Broward County, and that's it. It will take you there.
Yeah, the question is on the county it shows the abbreviated legal description. On the contrary, on the warranty deed or the title company, they go with the full legal description.
Yes.
So I assume we go to the abbreviated for.
Yeah, that's the easiest way. You can go. Let's see, on Broward County right here. You can go to the warranty deed, the last warranty deed that you that the property got on 2010. August the 2010. Click on the booking page and you have the copy of the warranty deed right there. Okay, you can copy the legal description. This is the full legal description right here. Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, building 1, Pier Point East condominium 1, and all that stuff right there. You just copy and paste it on your, for simplicity, or your document. Okay, but the easiest way is just the abbreviated that you saw on the other page right here. Okay, you can use, yeah, you can use the abbreviated. Or if you want to use the other one and you don't have enough space right here, you can do an attachment also. Okay, if you want to put the full description. Okay, let's go to personal property. 2B. Personal property is everything that the property, all the stuff that is going to stay on the property, including any attachments to the ceiling or to the walls inside the property. Okay. Not only appliances, but any personal stuff that is going to stay on the property. Okay. Always try to do the whole thing, because sometimes if you don't do it, the seller can change their mind, and if you don't put it in the contract, they will try to take it away. And if you put it on MLS, you're liable to provide anything that you disclose on the MLS. If you don't have enough space, just do an attachment number 1 or number 2. It all depends on how many attachments you're using, and just do an attachment in a regular page. 2B is occupancy if the property is occupied by a tenant, not by the owner. It's only if the property is occupied by a tenant. If it is, you have to get the information on the lease because the lease is going to be transferring to the new buyer with all the obligations and rights, and also all the prepaid monies that the owner has from the tenant, like last month or security deposit or something like that. Okay. Just do when the lease will expire. Okay. Just take this from here. Okay. Let's put just any what I am right now. Oh, expires on May 2022. Assuming that the lease will expire on that date. Price and terms, after you do your best effort to find out how much the property will be sold for, or try to do your best CMA possible, in this crazy market, always is going to be overpriced, but everything is selling. So let's assume that we already did our CMA and we came up with the $400,000 price on this property. 3B, the financing, any terms that the owner will accept on the sale of this property, okay? Always try to do all of them, because you want to have more potential buyers on your property. Of course, if the property accepts FHA, because you know that some condominiums are not authorized to do FHA loans. So in this case, it is a condominium. Let's forget about the FHA. Seller financing is when the seller is willing to accept a note, purchase money note on the property. So basically, is seller financing the buyer into the same property. If the seller is willing to, a note must be written by an attorney or a title company stating whatever conditions are included on this type of financing. Assumption of existing mortgage is whenever the buyer is willing to accept or assume the existing mortgage from the seller, okay? The conditions on the assumption must be written in the listing. If there is the mortgage on this property, let's assume there is, I don't know, $250,000 balance. And the assumption fee, that's what the lender will charge this new buyer. I don't know, $3,000, something like that. And for the term of only 20 years and the interest rate of 3%. This is the only important thing right here on the assumption. Why a new buyer would like to assume an existing mortgage? It will assume an existing mortgage because the rate is too low. Actually, in this kind of market, we don't have a assumption of existing mortgage because the rates are in an historic lows. So if you're buying a house that somebody wants the buyer to assume the mortgage in an interest rate of 4%, you just forget about it and you just go to a mortgage broker or a lender directly and you will get the 3%. And also if there is fixed or variable, whatever type of loan it is. Also, if the lender must approve the assumption, of course, will always be, okay? Most of the time, you're not going to use this unless the rates are going up. When we have some different rates in a couple of years, 5%, 6%, this is going to happen, the assumption, not just yet. Okay. You can use the seller expenses when the seller is willing to pay something that belongs to the buyer. In this case, we'll be paying mortgage discount or other closing costs not exceed the amount or the percentage of the purchase price, okay? Of course, again, in this kind of market, no seller will be giving anything to the buyer because they know that the properties are selling so high and also over the appraised value. Broker obligations, well, we all agree that we have to do our best effort to get a buyer on this property. That's the goal of the seller. Of course, that's our goal also. Otherwise, we're not getting any commission. Multiple listing service is the MLS. Of course, you're gonna put this property on the MLS. That's the easiest advertising on a listing. Just put it on the MLS and somebody else is gonna bring a buyer. You just sit and relax until you get the buyer from another realtor. The broker authority. Okay, there is some things important to understand is in this paragraph. Of course, we want to have the property authorization from the seller to advertise the property in any public system out there, okay? So the only way to limit this right that the owners is giving us is when just the seller doesn't want you to advertise the property only in the MLS and that's it. Because some owners out there, they don't want just anyone knocking at the door and try to see the property because they don't even know this person. It's better to have everything through a realtor or through an agent. If they choose 6B, that means that the seller does not authorize broker to display the property on the MLS. What happens when you take a listing that you don't have the authorization to display the property on the MLS? You have to use your own system to advertise the property, but you cannot put it on the MLS. No seller right now will tell you that they don't want the property to be on the MLS because it's not easy to sell the property. This is what they call out there the pocket listing. Pocket listing is whatever listing that you have in hand, you have a contract signed by the seller, but you don't put it on the MLS. The important right here, let's see what I am, understands and knowledge, okay. The use of a lockbox, of course, when you have a single family home that is not located in a community, or if the homeowners association or the condominium association does not allow to hang any lockbox only on this kind of properties, you can use the lockbox. That's the best way to show a property unless the seller instruct the listing agent to do something else, okay? Withhold all offers or withhold verbal offers. You better withhold all offers until the seller accepts a sales contract, okay? Maintain all those offers active until the seller chooses any offer and they get into a contract. Number 73, line 73, act as a transaction broker. Remember what is the advantage of being a transaction broker and not a single agent. Virtual office websites. Any one of you know what is? Yes.
Let's recall that one. Basically, what it means is that in a case that a buyer comes into my way without a buyer's broker, I could act as a transaction. Is that correct?
Yes.
To represent them both.
Exactly. One thing that you want to do if you get a listing is just to try to advertise through your own personal media, okay? Your Facebook, your Instagram or whatever, because there is a chance that you can get your own buyer. So you will get the whole commission for yourself. You will represent the buyer and the seller on the same transaction with limited confidentiality. And of course, it's better for us, okay? Okay, virtual office websites. That's any one of you what is virtual office websites? Can somebody explain to me? No? Okay. Let me just give you an example of the virtual office website that is most common in this market. That's Zillow, okay? That's a virtual office website. They're not a real estate company, they're just virtual office website. So in line 80 and line 82, there is some limits that the seller wants me to put on the listing or on the MLS, okay? Let's read the line 80 first. It says that the seller does not authorize an automated estimate of the market value of the listing or a hyperlink to such estimate. So any one of you have entered into the Zillow webpage looking for properties? Okay. There is a tool that they use that is called Zestimate, okay? So if I'm a potential buyer and I log in into the Zillow system and I do my Zestimate on a property for $400,000, the system will give me a very low price on the property. So in my mind, I always think that this property is not worth $400,000. I'm gonna probably think that I will never offer more than $350,000. And that estimate will stay for long. So that means that if some other buyer wants to check on the system, it will give this new buyer the same information. So in the eyes of these potential buyers, this property is not worth it. No one will be offering on this property. Okay, and you know, most of the buyers right now, they are looking on Zillow for properties. So I will limit the use of this estimate just clicking on this box right here, check mark on this box, and I'm just saying Zillow, my seller does not authorize an automated estimate of the market value, so they cannot use this estimate. Okay, they can put the property on the market, but they cannot use this estimate. I don't want anyone to give an opinion of value, okay? Because I do a CMA that is totally different as the estimate does. The estimate doesn't do a CMA. It's just an automatic system that will get any property out there and will compare a condominium with a single family home. And of course, the price will be different. Line 82, the seller does not authorize third parties to write comments or reviews about the listing on the property. This also, I always suggest to check mark on this box because I don't want anyone just giving opinions on my listing, okay? It happens exactly the same thing as you want to go to a new restaurant or you want to go to this hotel, and the first thing that we see is the reviews, okay? And if I want to try a restaurant and I see the reviews and somebody was so pissed off of the waiter because they spilled the water on top of them or something like that, they got so pissed off and they don't want to go to that restaurant anymore, they will do a bad review on this restaurant. This happens the same thing. Let's go back to the example of Zillow. If somebody, a potential buyer, take a look at the pictures on my listing and they will just put a bad review, guess what happened? The next person that will be seeing this this property will see this bad review and probably they will change their mind on this property. So I always try to limit this to tools that belongs to the virtual office websites. Another virtual office website is realtor.com. On some others websites out there that you will see.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. How do you go about when you enter it in the MLS to exclude that? What are the way of doing it? Because the agreement is between the seller and the agent. But
okay,
to go ahead.
Let's open up real quick. A listing on MLS, and I will show you where exactly. Let's take any one of these. Okay. If you go to the bottom of the listing, yeah. Okay, you will see that you have the internet. Yes, that means that anyone can get this listing except some information that belongs to the contract. Okay. Mm-hmm. ABM is exactly the valuation. That's the estimate. Just remember, ABM, that's the estimate. You see that they put yes?
Yeah.
They allowed Zillow to use the estimate system. And blogging is the one that I was telling you before, the reviews.
Yeah.
So you just can limit that right there when you are uploading the listing, just put no in those
No.
two.
In blogging, okay. In which
Okay.
one? No in blogging, and which one? AVM?
Yes, internet, ABM, no, blogging, no.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's go back. Number 7, the seller obligations. The seller is obligated to, yes.
Just coming back to the last comment, by
Okay.
hitting no on this AVM and blogging, basically it is stop them to give an opinion or stop them to even
To use those tools on those virtual office websites. Okay.
so they don't have the ability to replicate my listing on
exactly
their platform.
what Zillow will see this information, and Zillow will see that they cannot use the AVM because I'm limiting these virtual office websites to use their tool. Okay, that's why I just put no. But in the internet, if it says yes, that means that they can take the listing and advertise the listing on their webpage. Okay.
What does AVM means, please?
That's the market value, the valuation of the property. Okay. Actually, this estimate does exactly the same thing as IMAP. If you are using IMAP on comparables, just remember that when you click find comparables on IMAP, the system will take any property in 1 mile range. But the system just take any property, condominiums, townhouses, single family homes, anything, and just add those numbers up and divide it by the square footage, and they will give you the number. But most of the time, this number is not accurate. Okay?
So most likely for every new construction properties is not recommended to get not to hit any of this because they're gonna. I mean, new construction is brand new, has nothing to do with the surrounding market value.
Yeah, exactly. The price on a new development belongs to the developer. The developer just put the price on how much they pay for the load and how much they will pay for the construction, and they will give you the last number right there. Okay.
Thank you.
So that's why it's not easy to get comparables on a new property. Okay, let's go back to the listing. Okay, number 7, seller obligations. Remember, every information that you must provide into the MLS will be provided by your seller. Okay, anything that your seller says, that's the information that you're gonna put on the MLS. Okay, always try to get not only the information from the seller, but also from the condominium association. Okay. And when you're filling up the information on the MLS, if you don't put the information accurate, you probably are wasting your time and somebody else's time. Like yesterday, somebody was asking about a property that has a recreational lease, okay? And they put an offer, the offer was accepted, everything was going well until the lender said that they cannot lend any money on a property that has a recreational lease, okay? So they had to cancel the contract. So every single bit of information, you will have to put it on the MLS just to prevent misunderstandings on a contract. Okay, let's go to the next item. This is the best item for us. This is the best paragraph, the compensation. This is whatever the seller will compensate the broker. Okay, how much commission I'm gonna get from this seller. Okay, so always try to get 6% commission. And the reason why 6% is because you're gonna split this commission with somebody else, okay? The buyer's agent will get 3% and you as a listing agent will get the other 3%. You know that we in brokers, we have a compliance fee or a processing fee. Most of the time for the 100% commission is $499. You can just add those $499 in there to be paid by the seller at the time of the closing. They will pay 6% commission plus the $499 compliance fee to brokers. Okay, these two next paragraphs, 8B and 8C, I have seen that nobody fills those spaces, okay? This is very important to put some information in there. Let me tell you why. I do 30% right there, and the paragraph says that this 30% will be paid to the broker as a consideration for an option. What is an option? An option is when you get a lease with an option to purchase the property, okay? Something that I want to remind you guys that is that if you list a property and somebody sends you a rental agreement or contract to lease, you cannot deny this information to your seller, okay? Any single offer that you receive on your listing, as bad as it is, you have to transfer this information to the owner because you never know the owner what they have in mind. They probably will be attracted to a rental with an option to purchase, okay? So when a tenant contracts to rent a property from a landlord, okay, and they get the option to purchase the property in any amount of time, most of the time will be 12 months after the lease ends. This tenant has to give consideration to the seller, okay? This consideration is like when you are purchasing a property, you ask for an escrow amount to make valid the contract. In this case, it's exactly the same thing. The difference is that this money doesn't go to an escrow account. This money will go directly to the seller, okay? So if my seller accepts a lease with an option to purchase, when I'm gonna get this 6% paid? If I don't write anything in here, the seller will get whatever amount of the consideration paid by the buyer, okay? And I'm not getting anything from there, okay? If I'm not getting anything from there, that means that I'm just gonna have to wait 12 months to get my commission paid. So this 30%, let's assume that this buyer are putting on consideration $20,000 to get the option accepted by the seller. Those $20,000 will go to the seller except the 30%. So $6,000 are going to be paid to me when the lease is accepted and the option is paid, okay? So that means that I'm getting $6,000 from the 6% commission that I'm gonna get at the end of the lease, okay? Please let me know if you understand this concept. Okay, no questions asked.
Actually, I'm not too sure.
Okay.
What you're saying, if the property is on the market for sale,
Uh-huh.
you have a buyer who's coming forward to lease the property first with an option to buy, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Okay. So what percentage do I put? I put the entire 6% there?
No, actually this percentage in line 112 is the percentage of the consideration that the buyer needs to pay the seller in order to get the option, okay? The only way to get the option accepted is having consideration, okay? So this consideration is whatever amount that the owner wants to get in order to accept the option, okay? Any amount, you will get 30% of that amount that is contracted on the option, okay? So whatever percentage that you get on the consideration on the option at the beginning of the lease will be deducted from the 6% at the end of the lease, okay?
So 30% is the standard percentage you're saying?
That's what I suggest. You can put 20%, you can put 40%, you can do any amount that you want. Just don't leave it in blank, because if you leave it in blank and your seller accepts this option, you will have to wait 12 months to get your commission. and you don't want to wait 12 months, right? You want to get at least some advance on your commission. So if you put 30%, you're getting an advance. Okay? The same on line 115.8C, I do 10%. And the reason why is exactly the same thing as before. If during the listing agreement that I signed for 6 months with the seller some time after the second month or the third month decide to rent this property to somebody, it can be to anyone, any family member of the sellers, or just if you receive an offer to lease the property, that means that you're getting 10% of the gross lease value. So that means the 12 months lease by the 10% will be part of your commission. Exactly the same thing. It will be towards the total commission that you're accepting on the sale. Okay. Why 10%? Because most of the time the listing agent and the buyer's agent or the tenant's agent will ask you for commission on this property. Okay, so it's 5% for each. Okay, let's go to this paragraph right here that is very important to understand. The broker fee is due when? Actually, whatever we write in this contract, the seller is obligated to pay the commission, even though if the property is foreclosed. Okay, this is very important to understand. This fee will be due to the broker. Let's read it out loud. The first option right there, if any interest on the property is transferred, whether by sale, lease, exchange, governmental action, bankruptcy, or any other means of transfer, regardless of whether the buyer is secured by the seller. That means that if the seller loses the property to the bank because they didn't pay their mortgage and they foreclose the property, that means that somebody has to pay this 6% to me. Okay, the 6% to me will be paid by the bank that is taking the title on their name. Otherwise, they cannot take the title, or I can put a lien on the property because I need to get that 6% paid to me. Okay. The second option is the seller refuses or fails to sign an offer at the price and terms stated in this agreement. That means that whatever we wrote in the second, I believe the second paragraph, let's go back a little bit right here. Price and terms, the third paragraph. If I receive an offer, either in cash, conventional loan, VA, okay, for a full price, the $400,000 that we were speaking about before, that means that the seller is obligated to perform the contract. They cannot refuse to sign the contract, okay? But only the listing agent can do that, not the buyer's agent, because you have this contract signed by the seller. The buyer doesn't have anything signed by the seller, okay? And number three is the protection period. What is the protection period? Is the time that will protect this broker for any transfer of the title after the expiration of the listing, okay? I always do 90 days. You can do 30 days, 60 days, 180 days, whatever you want to. But this will only protect me if somebody that came into the property during the listing time, during the 6 months period, and then they wait until my listing expires and go on contract directly to the seller, I'm allowed to get my 6% commission even though I don't do the contract, okay? Except when this seller assigns this listing to another realtor. If they do assign this listing to another realtor, that means that I'm not getting paid, okay? That protection period is only for those potential buyers that came into the property during the 6 months listing period that the seller gave me the chance to sell the property, okay? Understood? Mm-hmm. Good. Retain deposits. Retain deposits, it's whatever money that a potential buyer lost for failing to perform on the contract. So it came a buyer through another real estate company. They put $20,000 on escrow and they default on the contract. So that buyer will lose those $20,000. So if I want to get paid for anything, I just click. If you leave it in blank, it's 50%, but I always do the same thing because in the eyes of the seller, if you leave it in blank, they want to put just 0 in there, okay? So those $20,000 will go directly to $10,000 to the seller and the other $10,000 to the broker. So I'm getting paid even though I didn't perform on the contract, the contract didn't close, but that retained deposit will be part of my commission. Number 9 is the cooperation with another broker, cooperation and compensation with another broker. We have 3 options right here. The first option is whatever I'm gonna offer as a listing agent to a realtor that will bring the buyer into the transaction, okay? 3% of the purchase price to a single agent for the buyer, okay? I will offer the same thing for the transaction broker for the buyer, 3%, okay? 3% of the purchase price to a transaction broker for the buyer. This is just the representation of this realtor on, with their client, with their buyer, okay? And I always do 1% right here. And if you see most of the listings out there, they put exactly the same 3%. Let me explain you why. Who of you can tell me who is this broker who has no brokerage relationship with the buyer? Any of you?
Non-brokerage relationship.
Yeah, who's that person? Who's that non-broker relationship with the buyer? Because you're paying 3% commission to a single agent that represents the buyer. You're paying 3% commission to a transaction broker for the buyer, but you are offering 1% of the purchase price to a broker who has no broker relationship with the buyer. Who is that person?
A real estate agent who doesn't have like who didn't show the property, who didn't do any work, but he just sent the client. I mean, there's
that you're right in part. This person must be a real estate agent in the state of Florida, okay, that is giving you a referral, okay? If that person refers the buyers to you, guess who will be doing all the work? You as a listing agent. You will have to represent both parties in the same transaction because that person probably is in Tallahassee. They're not gonna come down and do the work. They will just give you the referral and will be paying commission to them. So if you put 3% right here, that means that you will give that person 3% and you will be doing all the work. Okay, that's why I always do only 1% in there. Okay, let's see on the listing what it says in this listing. If you see right here, it says transaction broker 3%, buyer's agent 3%, non-rep comp 3%. This non-rep is exactly what we were talking before, the no brokerage relationship. Okay, this is the non-rep. Okay, so this person, this listing, if I'm located in Tampa and I will send my buyer to this realtor right here, guess what? Irene Duran Rios, that is the listing agent, will have to pay me 3% even though I'm not doing anything. That doesn't sound like very, how you say that?
fair.
Fair. Yes, fair. So that's why I always do 1% right there. Another thing that I want to point right here is that most of the realtors out there are confusing this transaction broker, and they put just the commission that the listing agent is having and the commission that the buyer's agent is having, okay? But this commission right here is not what you're getting as a listing agent. You don't need to disclose your commission to just anyone. just your broker, of course. But you don't have to disclose your commission in the MLS. This is information only for a transaction broker for the buyer, a single agent for the buyer, or a non-brokerage relationship to the buyer, okay? So just remember, that's why you always have exactly the same amount right here and here. But I have seen some realtors out there that they disclose their commission right here, okay? And you don't have to. Listing agent doesn't have to, because you're covered with your exclusive right of sale listing agreement that will give you 6%, okay, that you will split with the buyer's agent, okay? Understood? Line 136, if you click on here, that means that you cannot upload this property on the MLS, okay? Brokerage relationship, just to remember, let's read it out loud. Broker will act as a transaction broker, will deal with honestly and fairly, will account for all funds, will use skill, care, and diligence in the transaction, will disclose all known facts that materially affect the value of the residential property, will present all offers and counter offers in a timely manner unless directed otherwise in writing. Something that I want you to remember always: we don't take the decision on an offer. The decision will be taken by the owner. But I hear every single day out there that a realtor says, I'm not accepting that kind of offer. I'm not accepting. They cannot say that because they're not the owners on the property. The property belongs to somebody else. So you better be very careful, because that's against the code of ethics. You're not representing well your seller if you're taking decision for your seller, okay? Conditional termination. This is something that always I see it in blank. I always put some amount in there. The conditional termination is when the owner tells you after 1 month that they want to cancel this listing, okay? If they want to cancel the listing and you already pay for your advertising, you spend a lot of money doing photos, doing your drone, your, I don't know, whatever you want to do as advertising, you spend $500 on your listing. And after a month, the seller tells you, I don't want to continue with this listing. So what you're going to have to do, either you cancel or you ask your broker if the broker agrees to conditional terminate this agreement, okay? If you don't have any amount in there, that means that if the broker agrees to cancel the listing without any penalty, you're not getting anything. So always, as a listing agent, just put any amount in there. You can put $500, you can do $300, any amount that you want to do, but it's important to have an amount in that line. Remember, line 144.
I'm sorry, that line, the fee
Uh-huh.
goes to who in case the client decides to cancel? That money goes where?
The $1,000?
Yeah.
Okay, it all depends on the commission split that you have with brokers. If you are in 100% commission, they will take 10% out of the $100 just for the processing, and you get $900 from there.
So typically, what would be the fee there? It would be $1,000. I mean, what's the politics with your company?
Well, actually, you can put any number in there. You know why? Because this is your work. This is your time, and you have to value your time. How much worth is your time?
Right.
Okay, so I just suggest $1,000, but you can do $3,000, you can do $5,000, you can do whatever amount in there. Some sellers out there, they don't want you to put anything there. But guess what? If my seller doesn't want me to put any amount in there, that means that this seller will be canceling this contract at any time. So I'm wasting time with this seller.
So
okay?
if I'm putting 350, let's say, brokers will not have any issues with the amount. It could be anything there, really.
Yeah, and you know why?
Seller, yeah.
because the last decision belongs to the broker. That's why it says broker may void the conditional termination. You see?
Okay.
So if you wanna get covered, because if I'm the broker and I just don't wanna fight with anyone, I will say to the seller, I'm not charging you anything to cancel this contract, but you already have $1,000 in there. That means that you will get paid.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I mean, every client is different. Some clients, you know them on a
Yes.
personal level. Some you know. So how do you go about, doing that? If it's somebody that you know well, would you put something there, or you just,
Well, it all depends on the client.
Yeah.
There is some clients out there that they don't want to give you anything. Okay. There are some clients that understand that if you are very professional, they understand that you're doing your best effort. If I'm the seller and you're my listing agent, okay, and you will charge me something right there, that means that you're doing your best effort to sell this property.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If I leave it in blank, that means that for me, you're not doing anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Okay. Dispute on resolution is whatever has to be done in case this contract is disputed by any of the parties. That means the seller or the broker or the listing agent. Okay. Always will go to the mediation system through the American Mediation Association. Okay. Or most of the time will be by the DVPR. If there is no agreement, they will go to arbitration, and then it will go to a court of law, of course. Well, there is nothing else to explain this contract. In additional terms, line 167, you can do any condition that you might have for this for this seller, or the seller has any condition for you. Somebody was asking me, well, is obligatory to always charge 6% to a seller? It's not. You can do 5%, you can do 4%, okay?
Great.
But it all depends on how much is your work, how much you worth, okay? So I always try to convince my seller of just let me have the chance of 6%, because I'm gonna try, if I bring my own buyer into the transaction, I will charge you only 5%. Just leave 6% because I'm gonna have to share this 6% to another realtor that brings the buyer. That is the most common practice. Okay, but if I bring my own buyer, I will charge you only 4%. I'm getting more commission, of course. I will do the whole work, but I'm getting 4% instead of 3% or 2.5%.
And
okay?
where would you put that terms there?
I will do right here. If buyer is procured by listing agent, then seller will be charged only 5% of the purchase price. Okay. So if I bring my own buyer, I'm just charging 5%. Still, it's good for me because I'm not getting 3, I'm getting 5%. Okay. And in the eyes of the seller, you're trying to do something better because you will try to get your own buyer because it will be better for you. In the eyes of the seller, it will be better because he will understand that you're doing your best effort, okay, to sell the property. Okay. Any other additional terms like, I don't know, the chandelier in the living room is not going to stay on the property. You just type it out right here in the additional terms and you translate that information into the listing, into the MLS. Okay. Seller signature. Yes.
No, so sorry. Just an additional term. I'm so sorry. I have a little situation. I'm going to be taking a listing. It's occupied by the daughter's owner, the owner's daughter, and I'm going to be showing. Now, sometimes they're not available. For the lockbox, do I take the key? Should I take a key, a copy of the key, or put a lockbox for myself out there? What's,
If you're gonna take a copy of the key, you're just gonna have to ask the seller if you can to, okay?
that's okay. I can ask for a copy of the key if it's occupied.
Yes,
Okay. And do I need to put in there additional terms? That
yes,
I will get a copy of the key to show?
yes, yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. Okay, guys, this is the signatures right there. Information, always remember to send copy of this contract to the seller. Is our obligation to provide copy to the seller. Most of the time you will ask your seller and they will never have, because some realtors out there, they don't give copy to them. Okay, that's about it. That's the whole presentation for today. If you have any questions, this is the time.
One last question, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I just joined the brokers. I'm not familiar with the process. Once I have my agreement, listing agreement signed, I return one to the seller, of course. What about to the agency? Do they sign off? Does the brokers have to sign off on it?
Yes.
Do they get it first? They review everything, get the seller to sign? What's the process?
Okay, remember that as soon as you have a listing, send copy to the broker, because actually the broker in line 154, the broker has to initial in this space right here, okay? Seller initials, sales associate initials, and broker will be initialing right here. And it's very important because in case of a dispute, it's exactly the same, in the same paragraph, dispute and resolution. If there is no broker involved, nobody's going to represent you on a mediation.
So
okay?
first I do my listing agreement. I do send it to brokers first.
Yes.
First.
And then you have to you send to your seller to sign.
To sign it, and then it's executed. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Yes.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So let's assume that the seller signs the listing agreement. What should I collect from him at that moment that might help me later on if, I get an offer? Like, what is there any paperwork that I should be collecting?
Yes, I was forgetting about that. Thank you for asking me. Always do the seller property disclosure along with the listing agreement, okay? Because it's actually an obligation to provide the seller disclosure, okay? When I do contracts, when I do an assist contract, I always ask for the seller's property disclosure, okay? That's very important to have. So along with this form, provide the form of the seller's property disclosure to your seller. They will have to fill all of the blanks, and they will have to sign, and you can upload it into the MLS as an attachment on top, okay?
Okay.
It's better to have it in advance. It's like when you're selling a condominium, you always put those attachments on top of the listing right here. Let's see if this, well, this doesn't have, but right here in this part, when you have the attachments, you don't have to provide those attachments to the buyer's agent asking you for those things. If you have those attachments in there, they just can download those attachments. It's gonna be very easy for you.
So seller's disclosure is a obligation that the seller has to give?
Yes, that's the disclosure is whatever the owner knows about the property, okay? Any related condition that affects the property value must be disclosed by the owner, okay? And it's better to have it because the information comes from the seller, not from you, okay? So if the seller says, most of the time, of course, the seller will say that they don't know if there is something wrong with the property, or even though they know, they will say, no, there is nothing wrong, okay? But that's their word. That's why we have to have it in hand, because in case of a dispute, look, the seller didn't tell me that there was something wrong with the piping or something like that, okay? That's protection for everybody on the contract.
Okay.
And what about if there's like a homeowners association or something like that? Is it okay to have the seller fill out the addendum and upload it with the listing so that,
Yes, yes, you can do that too.
because
That's saving time.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
What was it?
Okay.
Which one is it? I'm so sorry, I didn't hear it.
When you have the homeowners association,
Uh-huh.
well, you know, if I'm the buyer's agent, I will provide copy of the homeowners association, but the information that I'm putting in there is I'm relying on the MLS, okay? And if something has changed on the homeowners association, it's better to have it in hand from the listing agent as an attachment because you already have the information right there.
Yeah.
You just have your buyer initial and sign, and that's it.
As far as the cost, the $4.99 to brokers, that goes, we have it as other, correct, on top?
Yes.
And we have an option to offer it if we charge it or not. I know that if they don't see it at closing,
Well,
they charge us to deduct it from our commission, right?
Correct. If you don't want to charge your buyer or your seller, you can just tell the company and they will deduct from the commission, and that's it.
Or if it's instead of $4.99, $2.49, and then I'll collect the difference, correct? I could do
Yeah,
that.
it all depends. It all depends on the program that you are on. If you're on 90/10, I think it's $299. If you are in a 500 flat fees, $399. And if you are in mentorship or platinum, you will have to. Well, actually, your buyer or your seller will be paying $499.
Okay, I have a question. I am the selling agent and I received an offer. And how am I gonna let them know that they have to pay this $4.99 because I don't want to pay, and the buyer has to pay. But in the offer that the buyer's agent sent, there's not such thing. So I should put an addendum, or how am I gonna let them know? Like, I don't want to give a surprise at the last minute on the HUD.
Okay. First of all, you're not the selling agent. You're the listing agent. The selling agent is whoever brings the buyer.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. And second of all, you have in Dogloop, you can find the forms, brokers forms, and you will find the compliance fee disclosure.
Okay.
That's always good to have it in hand because if somebody asks you why, there is the whole explanation in there.
Okay. So I will hand it to them so they can and sign it.
Correct. If you represent the seller, just bring copy of the compliance fee disclosure along with the contract and the seller's disclosure, and that's it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Okay, guys. Any other question?
Thank you. No.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a great day, guys, and I hope I will see you later on another presentation.
I was asking for your contact information to clarify some further questions. Okay.
You want to take my number or my email?
Yes, please.
Both. Okay, my email is very easy. It's Oscar, OSCAR, @brokersllc.com. My phone number is 954-329-6999.
Thank you.
Okay, whenever you have a question, just if I cannot answer my phone, just leave me a message, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
Thank you, Oscar.